Hi, and welcome to another episode of All Things Considered. The headline screams, Democratic debate number 2 exposes hypocrisy and failure of Inslee's campaign. Jay Inslee is running for President of the United States. And as far as I can tell, I don't think he's been a great governor of a great governor of Washington. I've contacted Jay Inslee several times to repeal the law that was written back in 1981 that prohibits cities or towns from enacting rent restrictions on property managers and property owners and managers and investors. They keep telling me, nope, they will not repeal it because they think that Seattle and other places in Washington State should be the most expensive, and if you can't afford to live there, fuck you. That's basically what they told me. I'm just giving it to you the way I see it. It says here, I came from the second Democratic debate with the end by the doors going through my head. This is the end. My only friend, the end. You know the Doors? Yeah. I can't sing, so pardon me. Why, might you ask? Well, I think Jay Inslee's campaign is over. I don't think he'll get to the 2% he needs by September. Now, I didn't write this, but it kind of goes along with what I'm thinking. So that's why I'm reading it. But I watched Jay Inslee last night, and Jay Inslee reminded me an awful lot of Jeb Bush. His mannerisms, his speech, the way he looked, he kind of reminded me of a Jeb Bush. And to be honest with you, I'd rather had Jeb Bush in office than Donald Trump. Although I believe Donald Trump should not be president, not because I hate the guy. I don't particularly care for the guy, but I think Donald Trump doesn't really want to be president. I think he's doing all these asinine things to make people not vote for him a second term. Of course, in the first term, I don't think anybody voted him into office. I really don't. I think somebody put him in there through the Electoral College. I'm not the only one that's thought that. There's other candidates that talked about that as well. That's why they want to do away with the Electoral College. It says here, I think Jay Inslee's campaign is over. I don't think he'll get to the 2% he needs by September. He didn't get double the speaking minutes he got in the first debate, all the way up to 8 minutes. Of course, that means double the boredom and apathy from those who tuned in. It is possible to drop below 0% in the polls. Is it possible? He started off with this dramatic statement. The people in this room and the Democrats watching tonight are the last best hope for humanity on this planet. If we make defeating the climate crisis the top priority of the United States, we have a fighting chance to save ourselves and our children's future. He doesn't believe in one word that he says about the climate crisis. It is all theater for him. If he had any sincerity whatsoever about the dire climate crisis, he would not fly his entourage all over the country campaigning, using more jet fuel in 6 months than most Americans use in a lifetime. Jay, if you really do believe that this is the most existential threat, and you recognize that you have no shot in this race according to the polls, then you should drop out and stop needlessly emitting so much carbon. Now, I was watching the debates. The Democrats are more worried about stopping Donald Trump than they are helping the American citizens. That's what I took from it. Because they weren't talking about what they wanted to do for me. They were talking about how they were going to stop Donald Trump, and they were talking about pretty much all the bad stuff that everybody else has been doing. Right? There was one particular quote from Inslee in the Democratic debate that just blew me away. That is the biggest issue. What is the biggest issue in our region? Homelessness, of course. Homelessness. We've been talking ad nauseum. We have been talking ad nauseum about what to do about the homeless. I believe that every single person in a tent, on a bench, under a tarp, in a box, on our streets, or in a park must be told that we do not allow camping and they must move along. That sounds cruel, and I know the homeless that are really tired and hurting don't want to move. I've been there, but it's got to be done. There's been times when I was homeless that I was so tired. There was times when I was so tired that I checked myself into a mental hospital just so I could get some rest. I was so tired. I was hurting so bad. I cried out for help, and I was crying, and tears were running down my face. I was just so tired, and I just wanted to sit down and take a break, and I wanted to rest, but they had to move me along. Why? Because that's the rules. Yes, it's cold-hearted, I think, but, you got to try to figure out a better way. For me, the better way was checking myself into a mental hospital because I was in a city that I didn't know anything about. I was homeless and stuck, and the security told me I had to go. And I just wanted to sit there and take a break for a few minutes, rest my eyes, close myself down, and I wanted to fall asleep, and security would wake me up, and I'd be like, okay, I'm awake, and then I'd fall back asleep again. And then security would wake me up, and I'd be jumping. You gotta move, you gotta pack up your stuff and go. So I had to go. It's got to be done. It has to be done. I know that sounds cruel, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me for it, but it's just got to be done for the sake of the city, and not just for the sake of the city. It's got to be done for the homeless. You got to get the homeless off the street. You got to put them someplace. You got to put them someplace where they can get help. You got to put them someplace where they can get mental treatment. You got to put them someplace where they can get help with drugs and alcohol rehabilitation. You got to help them find an apartment or find them something with a roof over their head where they can lock the door behind them. That's safety. When you have a roof over your head and you have a key that'll lock that door behind you, even if it's a 10 by 10 foot tiny house, if you can lock that door, you would not believe the amount of security you feel. From living on the street in a cardboard box with no security, worrying about whether you're going to get hurt or killed or robbed or worse, laughed at, to being in a house with the roof over your head and you can lock the door behind you and you can go to sleep and sleep as long as you want. Get up when you want. Go when you want. When you're homeless, you can't do none of that. It says here, however, we should also give them mental health treatment, housing, drug rehab, and job training as long as they promise to get clean. People will sometimes tell you whatever they think you want to hear in order for them to get what they need. If the drug addict thinks he's going to get a roof over his head for not being a drug addict, he's going to tell you, oh, I quit a long time ago. And then he'll start up right when he gets in. Some people have stopped a long time ago, and that's good. They've quit. Some people say they have, and they haven't quit. It says we need to talk about earlier this week. Repeat offender Francisco Calderon had 76 convictions and kept getting put back out on the street. His sister was begging the justice system to keep him locked up. Now that's a story for another time period. But he was homeless too, and he had loads and loads of problems, and he was crying out for help. He was trying to get help because he could not bring himself to get the help he needed, so he was doing these outrageously crazy, stupid things that were bad for the public because he was hoping they would lock him up. but the system was failing him by giving him a slap on the wrist, giving him 30 days treatment, and then he's right back again out on the street. He needed something stronger than that, so that's what he was shooting for by doing this crazy thing. He tossed coffee on a little child. An outrageous act. Of course, he probably did it in a way that the child wouldn't get severely hurt, but the judge said, nope, you're going to do a year because you're a repeat offender and you're going to keep doing it. He did not say, which I wish he would have, the judge did not say that, I know you're crying out for help and this is the way you can get help. We're going to give you the maximum penalty under the law, which was a year. The prosecuting attorney, the county district attorney, and his defense attorney all cried foul when the judge did what he did to protect the citizen, the one going to jail, and the citizen, the child that got hurt. He was looking out for both of those interests. One, he knew that the guy was crying for help because he was a repeat offender and he was going to go back to jail anyway, hurt somebody and go back to jail. So he put him away for a year so he can get some help. The little child wasn't severely hurt. She was more shook up than anything, but she's protected now too. It says here, this is the game we are playing in our state. We have got to have proper mental health treatment. This is so when Jay Inslee said this in his debate last night, I truly could not believe my ears. I am so proud of this, and I think we need to talk more about this as Democrats. It is a time to give people adequate mental health care in the country, sorry. Mental health in the country. It is time to give people adequate mental health care in this country, and we are having some success in integrating mental health with physical health. Bull crap. If they had time, if they'd had me on the post-debate panel, I would have explained that that was almost a bigger lie as when Jay Inslee told us he would never raise taxes as governor. Our state's biggest psychiatric facility is Western State Hospital, and in June of last year it was decertified because of horrible conditions due to years of neglect. It cost $53 million a year in federal funding because of that decertification. Jay Inslee has been governor for the entire time that Western State has been in crisis. For him to stand on that debate stage and suggest to the nation that we have made strides in mental health care in Washington when we have mentally ill people running around the streets, stabbing a guy at a bus stop in Auburn, threatening Westlake Park visitors, ripping sunroofs off of cars, and using them as weapons, when our largest psychiatric facility lost its certification and the federal funding that goes with it under his leadership, that was as big a lie as you could imagine. And Jay Inslee is constantly telling lie after lie after lie. And I get it. He's a politician. That's what politicians do. You need somebody that understands politics, that cares about the citizens of the city and of the state and of the country. But they're not trapped in the political suit. And the people on the Democratic debate panel, they have so many researchers, and they couldn't have one person figure out that Jay Inslee talking about mental health funding is extreme hypocrisy. This next quote was the biggest applause line of the night. We can no longer allow a white nationalist to be in the White House, number one. And number two, we have to make America what it has always been, a place of refuge. No, it hasn't. America has not been a place of refuge. My people back in the day were hunted by the white folks. My people, regardless of what they did to each other, my folks were hunted by the white people, and our land was stolen from us We were murdered, and our wives, our women were raped, and our children were murdered by the white folks. Now, hold on. I'm saying that for a reason. We can't do anything to fix the past. We can acknowledge the past, and if needed an apology, we can make an apology. But we can damn sure make sure that the past does not repeat itself and bite us in the ass. It says here, we are a place of refuge. We've got to boost the number of people we accept. I'm proud of being the first governor saying, send us your Syrian refugees. Now, look, I'm all for helping everybody. I would love to help everybody in the world, but America just cannot do it. Not that we don't want to do it, not that we shouldn't do it. It's that we cannot do it. Until we find out a way to do it responsibly. You can't just bring a whole lot of people in and then figure out how you're going to deal with them later. Like people that move to Seattle. People that move to Seattle, sometimes a lot of the people move to Seattle, they've got no job, they've got no place to live. They think they'll figure it out when they get there. Because Seattle is a rich place and they want to live rich because they are tired of feeling poor. And I figured it out. A lot of people that move to Seattle don't move to Seattle because they went there on a trip and they fell in love with Seattle and that's where they wanted to go. That was my case. I went to Everett, Washington when I was younger, took a girl back to her parents' house, and we dated for a while. It didn't work out. I was on my way to Los Angeles. I got on a Greyhound, got stuck in Seattle, had a 5-hour layover, and I walked around and I fell in love with Seattle and I stayed. Until I did something stupid and had some family issues and I had to move away. Now I want to move back and I can't because it just ain't happening. But you got people with no idea what they're going to do. They just pack up their grip and they go to Seattle and then they find out they can't live there and they try to make it work. It says here that Jay Inslee wants to run for president when he has a very hard time running his own country. He's letting everybody go amok. He's letting the big corporations rule Seattle and ruin Seattle. He doesn't care much about the people of the state of Washington, from what I gather. He thinks that because the cost of living is high and that there's an awful lot of job growth, yeah, but those people are coming from outside the state of Seattle, state of Washington. That doesn't count in my book. So, I think Jay Inslee should leave and leave it up to the people that probably know better. I don't trust any of the candidates on the Democratic side. I have not heard the lone guy that's debating against Trump. I want to watch that because I think it might do some good. It's always good to know the other side. Now, I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I believe in whoever is the right person for the job should get the job. And Jay, let me tell you, I don't think you're it. I really don't. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Hit that button. If you have an idea for a video, please put it in the comments. If you like my video and you agreed with me, put a comment. If you disagreed with me, put a comment. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. This is an us presentation. You and I, doing this for the betterment of everybody involved. If you like my videos, put a like and subscribe and then put a comment below. This has been another episode of All Things Considered. Have a good night, Seattle, and all points beyond.